I think...
Because you have 2 or 3 decades before it reaches its full strength.
No, even in 3 decades, it won't reach its full strength. In 3 decades, its per capita is still about 1/3 of America.
Right. Its gross domestic product.
Well, for it to reach America's standard of living and standard of technology will take more than 100 years.
So what should the United States do while it has the position it has now?
I think make sure that they feel that they are accepted at the top table.
Make sure that China feels like it's accepted at the top table.
Yes, your place is waiting for you when you make it, but you've got to play by the rules of the game. And the key really is whether the next generation, this generation understands it. They know that they have no chance competing against the West, America especially, in technology, and especially military technology. There's absolutely no chance. Let me build an aircraft carrier to guard the shipping lines where they carry oil and other minerals. This is the first time where the Chinese are growing, but dependent on the world for its resources.
But they're going around the world signing up contracts in Iran and in Africa. And
absolutely, but before that, it's all within the Chinese empire. They don't have to worry about the rest of the world. This time, they have to worry about the rest of the world, because without the resources, the oil, the iron ore, nickel, whatever, the growth will stop.
Will they be able to create the domestic demand that's necessary as they find exports reduced?
Slowly. But in the meantime, there's keeping the economy going by enormous expenditure on infrastructure in the West. High-speed roads, high-speed railways, airports, telephone lines, bringing water from the south up to the north where it's arid and dry. Huge, enormous, mammoth projects. That keeps it going.
Will India have an advantage, some argue, because it's democracy and China is not?
Let me put it this way. If India were as well organized as China, it would go at a different speed. But it's going at the speed it is because it is India. It's not one nation, it's many nations. It has 320 different languages and 32 official languages. So no prime minister in Delhi can at any one time speak in a language and be understood throughout the country. You can do that in Beijing.
So in the end, do you think that system will change in Beijing?
I think it will have to change as the people get more and more urbanized. Today it's about 40% urban, or less than 40% urban, more than 60% rural. When you reach the tipping point and 60, 70% are urban with mobile phones, PDAs, you can download anything you want, send any messages you want. It's already had its effect. I mean, the Sichuan earthquake, in the old days, nobody would know about it, except seismologists who say, well, such an earthquake took place. Here, immediately, SMS, all the Chinese knew, the world knew, and they had to go public. And the prime minister took a plane full of pressmen and went there and tried to comfort them and assure them that they'll be.
So you're saying that communication and technology and the flow of information will have an impact.
And the urbanization. If you're in the countryside, that's different. You can be isolated. But when you're together in an urban center, and they are planning 10 urban centers with 40 billion people each. That's their plans, on the greater scheme of things. 40 billion people in 4 mega cities, all with, you can call up a meeting anytime you want. You call a riot anytime you want. So it's a different world. Therefore, you have to pay attention to what people think. And today, they're watching the internet very carefully, because they know what the average person in the cities are thinking.
Now, what are they afraid of? Where is their fear of?
No, it's not afraid. They just do not want to lose control.
Well, so they're afraid of control.
No. They are afraid that they will lose control of the situation. In the old days, way back in Mao's days, everybody is dependent on the state. The state is the only employer. And everybody has what you call a hukou. Hukou is a residence permit. And if you lose your job because you're anti the government or you're a crook or whatever, you've had it. There's no other employer. But today, there are multiple employers, all companies.
So people have options.
Yes, absolutely. And that means the government has lost control over the people. I mean, they can be entrepreneurs, they run their own businesses, shops, whatever it is.
But are they moving towards some form, not a Western form, some form of more participation in the political process?
They are co-opting all the successful people into the communist system.
that's a smart policy.
Jiang Zemin calls it the three representatives. So whether you're an artist, whether you're a businessman, whether you're an activist, anybody who's got the extra drive to contribute to a greater China, come and join us.
Coming out of the global economic crisis, even though the United States is a dominant country, it is forced to look to build and to engage and build coalitions on a whole range of big issues. And there is never now a guarantee of unanimous support. It's hard to put together, for example, sanctions against Iran.
Iran is a special case. Iran got oil and gas. The Chinese desperately need oil and gas. Russia is playing a game with Iran. Russia doesn't need oil and gas, but Russia wants to cut the U.S. down to size and remind the U.S., you need me to run the world. With the Chinese, they are doing their calculations. I think in extremis, they must know that if they buck the world, once the Russian says, all right, we agree, I would bet 50-50 that the Chinese will also say we
So if the Russians say we'll engage in sanctions, the Chinese will follow.
They would not want to be the odd man out and be held responsible.
What if the United States would find another partner or another supplier of energy for Iran?
No, in place of Iran.
Yes.
Where do you find it?
Well, in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia, not possible.
Not possible.
But I had a Chinese diplomat say to me that they would welcome that. That if in fact they did not have a necessity of needing Iranian oil, they would go along with sanctions because they don't think
they need Iranian oil, they need Arabian oil, they need Nigerian oil, they need Angolan oil, they need
all the oil they can find anywhere.
Yes, of course.
To fuel the economic growth at 8%.
Absolutely.
Tell me about Russia and how you see Russia today.
Well, look, I'm doing a little bit of business in Russia.
Yes.
I'm also a member of the board of the governors of the Skolkovo Business School, invited to join it by Medvedev, who is now the president. So I speak as one who is a semi-Russian colleague. I would say they would do enormously better if they could get their system right. The system's not as functional as it should be, because it has gone haywire. They have lost control over the various provinces. Putin is trying to bring it back to the center, but it's difficult.
What do you think of the relationship between Putin and Medvedev?
Everybody knows that Mr. Medvedev is a very